Hello, welcome to the video. In this one, I'm going to show y'all how I made this costume, including both the hat and the collar, as well as a little extra of what I made for Hiroshi's costume this year. Let's get started! Okay, so first I'm going to take this witch hat that I borrowed from work. It's really kind of ugly, and I'm going to trace the general shape of it onto my tracing paper, both the circle and the cone. So this is the finished cone that I made. I measured the dimensions around and just kind of guessed a little bit and taped this all together to make a little cone pattern. And I did the same thing. I traced exact, just traced around the edge of the hat. And I'm going to add 1 centimeter as a seam allowance for when I'm sewing them together. So now I've cut my fabric according to the pattern, and I'm going to press on some seichakushin, which is like stuff to make it thicker so that it stands up nice and tall when it's all finished. And I'm going to add that to the circular part too, so that it is nice and thick and the brim of the hat like sticks out. I didn't want to waste any seichakushin, so I pieced it all together mosaic style, so it looks kind of silly, but I just didn't want to waste it, so that's why it looks all messed up. But you won't see this anyway because it's going to be on the inside of the hat. So now I am matching right side to right side so that I can sew around the edge and hide the ugly seichakushin. So now I'm going to fold my cone in half, and I'm going to sew about 1 centimeter along this line here. So I'm going to pin that together and sew along there. Pin it together so that it doesn't move when I'm sewing. And voila! Now it is sewn, and I flipped it the right way out, and it looks like this. Cute little cone. So now I'm doing the same thing for the other side of the cone. On this side of the cone, I didn't put any seichakushin on it. Oh, I need to look up how you say that in English. I didn't put any on there because I don't think it needs it. It's thick enough on one side, so it should stay up. And honestly, this stuff is not really necessary if you don't have enough fabric. I am doing this because I just wanted to finish the edges and make it look really nice. And that way, if you look at the hat from the inside, it looks nice and clean. And this is super easy, just sewing a straight line. So now I'm going to pin both of those cones together. So you're not going to be able to see this part. So I'm putting the wrong side into the wrong side. So exactly how it's going to look when you wear the hat. And I'm going to pin along so it's nice and smooth and each end matches up with each other. And now I'm going to sew 1 centimeter away from the edge of the hole, just around the entire perimeter of the cone. Now I'm going to sew the brim of the hat. I put right side to right side of the fabric and pinned around, and I'm just going to sew about 1 centimeter away from the edge of the brim and sew all around that circle. So once those two bits are sewn, they should look like this. And I'm now going to flip these right side out and give it a nice press so that it looks nice and circular and pretty. Right now it kind of looks like a weird tutu, which is fun, but not exactly what our goal is. Pressing this was very satisfying, making the complete circle look really perfect, and it looks really crisp and nice. So this next step I actually ended up undoing completely. I wanted to make it look nice and like finished, so I added an extra sewing line around the edge because I thought it looked cute and handmade, but it turned out that I wanted to add wire into this, so I ended up unpicking this and then adding the wire later. So maybe skip this part until later. Here is the wire that Hiroshi just had this. I'm pretty sure it was from Daiso, and it's covered in plastic, so it should be rust free. And I'm just going to put this along the edges of the inside of this. There was a lot of trial and error involved in this. First, I clipped it thinking that I could just sew directly around it, which is really hard to do. So I think what I ended up doing is, so first I measured how much wire I actually needed and cut that using a wire cutter. Then I sewed about one, maybe 3/4 of a centimeter away from the edge so that I had like a little tunnel around the entire perimeter of the hat. And then I carefully poked the wire through that tunnel so that it reached all the way around. It ended up being a little bit short on the end, which is annoying, but it's okay. And then when it was done, it looked like this. So it has like a really nice shape when it is put on a head, which is cool. So now I attach the cone of the hat to the brim of the hat. I decided which side looked prettier, and I put the cone through the hole of the brim and then just pinned it around the edge, and then just went around with my sewing machine, and I was able to see what it would look like when it was finished by doing this as well, which was cool. Here's what it looks like before sewing. Once I sew it, it won't look so lumpy because right now there's all these pins in it. So, yay! So then I sewed around the edge with my sewing machine. It was pretty easy. And voila! It looks like this. It's a real hat. It's attached, but I want to add some cute stuff to it. I can do a little down moment like that, or I can do it straight up too. Turned out better than I expected. So now I'm going to give it a nice press, and I have this cute little lace. I'm going to add that on there as well. And after I finished the hat, I decided that I needed something a little bit more to draw everything together. The dress that I have is all black, so this hat is a little bit more of a like muted tones. Like the black is a little bit harsh with it, so I took inspiration from the dress I already had. It has a really cute big Lolita collar, and I'm going to make a collar from the leftover fabric that I have. So I made this pattern by tracing the collar of the original dress. So here I am cutting out the pattern, and I just gave myself a 1 centimeter seam allowance around the entire thing. And I made this really fast, actually. I was pretty impressed with myself. So I just cut 1 centimeter around the pattern, kind of piece it together. I did cut it on a fold so that I could get as much as I could out of the fabric. Here I am struggling to find a space big enough for the other side of the collar. And I did some trimming just to make sure that they're the exact same size and shape of each other. Next, I cut out some 2 centimeter wide strips of the fabric, just wherever I could find enough fabric that was long enough to make these. And I'm going to make some ruffles. So I adjusted my machine here so that it is 5. So it says 5. I don't know what it's called, but so it says 5 instead of 2.5. This is how many times the needle goes like in and out of your how many stitches it makes, the space between the stitches, I guess. So basically I made really big stitches, really wide stitches, so that I can pull the bottom fabric, I can pull the bottom thread of the fabric and make a ruffle design like this. It's actually really easy and fun. So I went ahead and did this to, I think, 4 pieces of strips of fabric, and I'm going to put them around the perimeter of the collar so that I have this cute little ruffle design that comes out of the edge. So here I am doing that, and it took a bit of trial and error. When you're sewing 3 pieces of fabric together, sometimes the middle fabric, which is the ruffle, would kind of get stuck in between the 2 pieces, and the needle wouldn't go through that bit of fabric, so it would be like poking out of the fabric and make like a weird ugly shape. So I had to redo it a few times, but eventually I got it. So next, this is not necessary if you use a thread that is the same color of your fabric, but I was just using white thread because it's what I have, and I decided to pluck out the ruffle making thread that I originally put in before. If you do this, you don't have to worry about the ruffles coming undone because they are already sewn into the actual collar itself. And I needed a way to fix the collar onto the dress without sewing the collar directly to the dress. So I added these little ribbons on either side. And when it's finished, it looks like this. So you can add it to, really I could add it to any dress I have. So I'm taking this old prince cape that Hiroshi wore last year, and I'm going to make it into a vampire cape. I'm putting this trim on the edge here just to make, because I cut this to make it shorter, just to make this look cleaner. And I sewed it onto his prince shirt as well. Amazing how easily a prince costume can become a vampire costume. So I'm going to do that. Okay, this is the final look. So this is the finished collar. Very cute, right? And I just flipped in this old collar so that you can't see it and put it on top. And this is the hat from matching fabric. Can you see my hair?
Yeah.
Can you see it? Okay. Yeah, it's very straight, and it said not to use heat on it, so I can't curl it to match my hair, which is annoying. Oh, and I have the spider earrings. Yeah, so this is the finished look. It took 3 days to make this and this. So yeah. Here's Hiroshi's low effort vampire. I think it looks pretty good though. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Flip your cape. Wow. Become a bat. Bat! Sorry. Oh no. Hope you enjoyed watching the Halloween video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.